Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now, I would like to discuss about second BSc Biochemistry, fourth semester Biochemistry paper, that is intermediary metabolism. So, from this paper we have already discussed unit 1 and 2. Now we are moving to the unit 3, which is the metabolism of amino acids. So here, if you hear the word metabolism of amino acids, it's nothing but the metabolism of proteins also. Why? Because these amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, and proteins are nitrogen containing macromolecules consisting of L-alpha amino acid as the repeating units. So if you see this amino acid metabolism here, these proteins, so these proteins are the nitrogen containing molecules, nitrogen N2 containing molecules consisting of L-alpha amino acids as the repeating units, So here we are discussing about the metabolism of amino acids, which is nothing but the metabolism of proteins. Okay, so these amino acids undergo metabolism individually. So we have around 20 amino acids in our nature, and these 20 amino acids undergo metabolism individually, and few amino acids undergo similar metabolic pathways. Okay, so each and every metabolic activity will be considered under this metabolism of amino acids. So initially these proteins, if you see these proteins, these are the abundant organic compounds in our body. These are abundant organic compounds in our body. Okay, and if you consider total weight of a adult person, in that person 10 to 12 kgs of protein content will be seen. And if you see about the functions of these proteins, they undergo structural, that means simply we can tell that as static and dynamic functions. They show, that means proteins show it shows static and dynamic functions. Static functions means nothing but structural functions, that means development of different structural components in our body. And dynamic functions, dynamic proteins, they show static and dynamic functions. And here dynamic functions means nothing but enzymes, formation of enzymes, hormones, clotting factors, receptors, etc. So about half of the body protein is present in the supportive tissue supportive tissue like skeleton and connective tissues, skeletal muscles and connective tissues. Okay, and remaining half will be in the intracellular form. Okay, so total we have 20 amino acids, and these 20 amino acids, again these are non-essential and essential. So these non-essential amino acids are synthesized in our body. Humans synthesize these non-essential amino acids, and these are non-essentially taken. These are the amino acids which are not essentially taken through our diet, and these are the essential amino acids which are not synthesized in our body and should be taken through our diet. Okay, so these are the amino acids which should be taken essentially through our diet. Okay, so these 20 amino acids which are found in the proteins, half can be synthesized by the body, which we call them as non-essential, while the rest have to be provided through diet, which we call it as essential amino acids. So here we have two kinds of amino acids, non-essential and essential. Here this amino acids should be metabolized after the degradation of the protein. So whatever the protein which is composed of these units of amino acids, these proteins undergo degradation, which we call it as proteolysis. Okay, and after this what happens? Individual amino acids will be released. And each one of these 20 naturally occurring amino acids undergo its own metabolism. So this protein, which is a building block of different amino acids, it is degraded by proteolysis to form different kinds of amino acids. Okay, and each and in every individual amino acid undergo different metabolism path. They undergo different metabolism. That means each and every individual amino acid contains a own metabolism. It carries its own metabolic reactions. Okay, and by these metabolism, that means each and every amino acid will have its own metabolism, and by its own metabolism it shows specific functions. So each and every amino acid will have its own metabolism. Okay, and by this metabolism what happens? It shows different kinds of functions. So amino acids, they help in the synthesis of different proteins, and they help there for the protein level. In the protein level also they'll show their functions, and they have its own identity again. They have their own importance. They have their own functions again. So it is like if you take our college as a whole, college is not just a single entity. It is the combination of administration, teaching staff and students. Everybody should show their importance. Everybody should undergo their role to function as a whole. That means teaching faculty or staff, they should teach students in a better way, and students should study well and get better grades, and administration should also work properly, and as a collective will show a greater and good results. So that is the overall function. So coming to this college, what happens, everybody has their own function as a whole, and again individually everybody will have their importance. Okay, so in the similar way, these amino acids, there as a whole in the proteins also, they will show different kinds of functions, and when they are individual, they'll also show their functions and they will have their metabolism. Okay, so here again these amino acids, they serve as precursors also. Precursor means these, from this precursor the biological important compound will be produced. Okay, precursor, these are helpful in the, these act as precursors and helpful in the synthesis of many biologically important compounds like melanin. What is melanin? It is a important pigment which is present in our skin. Okay, and also creatine, serotonin. So these kind of compounds will be produced by these amino acids, and few amino acids, these are helpful in the, these are helpful in the these are helpful as neurotransmitters. These are helpful as neurotransmitters. Okay, and what are they? Amino acids like glycine and aspartate and glutamate. So these are the few amino acids which act as neurotransmitters. That means they'll pass the nerve impulses. Okay, and so here let's see how amino acids are present in our body, how these amino acids are utilized by our body and all. Okay, so on an average, an adult an adult will contain 100 grams of free amino acids. So here I mentioned the word free amino acids. So here free amino acids means these are not bound in any form, or these are not a part of proteins. These are free. They will show their individual metabolism and they show their individual functions. Okay, so on an average every adult person will have 100 grams of free amino acids, and that particular amino acid that 100 grams of amino acids is commonly mentioned as amino acid pool. So on an average an adult person will have 100 grams of free amino acid in his amino acid pool of the body. So if you take this glutamate and glutamine as an example, These glutamate and glutamine, they metabolize together. Okay, and essential amino acids about 10% of the body pool. So essential amino acid will be present to the 10% of the body pool. So 10% of So 10% of essential amino acids. Okay, and glutamate and glutamine, they'll be around 50%, and they both undergo similar metabolic pathway. Okay, and here the concentration of extra intracellular amino acids is always higher than the extracellular amino acids. So intracellular amino acids are always high when compared to the extracellular amino acids. Okay, so here intracellular amino acids are very high, and the amino acids, they enter the cells against the concentration gradient of active transportation. So whatever the active transportation with this concentration gradient is present, based on this concentration gradient only amino acids will enter the cell. Okay, that means amino acid concentration gradient means if glycine is high in the cell, then glycine will not enter the cell. If the concentration of glycine is low, then glycine can enter the cell. So this is nothing but the concentration gradient. That means based on the amount of concentration or concentration of the particular amino acid, the amino acid will be intaken into the cell. Okay, so basically if you take body amino acid pool, it is 100 grams. Okay, body amino acid pool, it is 100 grams. Okay, and this particular 100 grams will help in the synthesis of non-protein compounds. Synthesis of non-protein compounds. Okay, and will be helpful in the formation of energy, that means liberation of energy. Here 10 to 15% of the body's daily requirement will be fulfilled by this amino acids. And synthesis of non-essential amino acids, so whatever the non-essential amino acids are present should be synthesized in our body. For this also amino acid pool will be helpful. So synthesis of non-essential amino acids. Okay, and on the other side dietary protein. By dietary protein, these amino acids pool, dietary protein will contribute for the body's amino acid pool, and protein breakdown will help the formation of amino acids, and protein synthesis will be utilizing the amino acids. So here protein synthesis will help to form amino acids, and the amino acids will be helpful in the synthesis of proteins, and synthesis of non-protein compounds will be carried by this amino acids, and also energy liberation will be produced, and at the same time protein loss from the body is also comes under this body amino acid pool. So in this manner, these amino acid pool will be present in our body. Okay. And if you see about amino acid metabolism here, so here it is amino acid overview of amino acid metabolism. So amino acids, these are helpful in the protein synthesis. That means nothing but the proteins biosynthesis, and also helpful in the synthesis of different kinds of compounds. Okay. So whatever the dietary proteins we are intaking, they will donate the amino acids. At the same time, proteins which are present in our body will also donate these amino acids. And these amino acids, by different reactions like transamination, deamination and all, these will help in the production of different compounds like glucose and energy liberation, fat production, non-essential amino acids production. So in this manner, these amino acids will produce different kinds of compounds. And also there will be formation of urea, NH3. It is the byproduct of the amino acids. So this is the byproduct. That means these excrete in the form of urea. Amino acids excrete in the form of urea in our body. So this is the overall metabolism of amino acids that we commonly see in our body. So before getting into the metabolism of individual amino acids, we should see about the reactions that are commonly seen in metabolism of amino acids. Okay, so transamination, deamination, and along with these two, we also have important reactions of this amino acid metabolism are transamination, deamination, and oxidative reactions. So let's see how these reactions what are these reactions. Firstly, later we can start with the individual amino acid reactions, and also we should see about the production of urea, biosynthesis of urea, nothing but the urea cycle. So here amino acids undergo certain common reactions like transamination followed by deamination for the liberation of amino acids in the urea cycle. So here the amino group of the amino acid is utilized for the formation of urea, which is an excretory end product of the protein metabolism or the so-called amino acid metabolism. So firstly, let's see what is transamination. What is transamination? How it is carried? So here the transfer of an amino group, that is NH2 group, from an amino acid to a keto acid is known as transamination. So here transfer of an amino group from amino acid to a keto acid is known as transamination. And here the process involves the interconversion of pair of amino acids. So here it is nothing but the interconversion of between the pair of amino acids. So if you see the reaction over here, this is the amino acid 1 and this is the amino acid 2. This is the keto acid 1 and this is the keto acid 2. So whatever the amino group present on the amino acid is given to the keto acid. So the amino acid which is present on the amino acid 1 is transferred to the keto acid 1. And if you see the second reaction, whatever the amino acid 2 is present, it will donate the amino group to the keto acid. Okay, and here two enzymes like transaminase is the enzyme and pyridoxal phosphate is the PLP is the important constituent which is responsible for the reaction. So it is the interconversion reaction, and here the catalyzation of the enzyme or the group is mostly carried by these transaminases reaction enzymes. So these transaminase enzymes will helpful in the transamination of the amino group from the amino acid to the keto acid. Now let's see the silent features of this particular transamination reaction. So as said earlier, this is a PLP dependent reactions. All transaminases, they require a pyridoxal phosphate PLP for its activity along with the vitamin B6, and specific transaminases, they exist for each pair of amino acid and keto acid. That means if you take transfer of amino group from the amino acid aspartate, it require aspartate transaminase, and for alanine transaminase. So they require a significant transaminases for few amino acids and keto acids. Okay, and there is no free NH3 liberated. Here only the transfer of NH2, no NH3 is liberated. Okay, only the transfer of amino group is seen, and transamination is reversible. It can be again reverted, and this transamination is very important for the redistribution of amino groups and production of non-essential amino acids as per the requirement of the cell. So this transamination reaction is very helpful for the production of non-essential amino acids for the requirements of the cell. That means cell might contain few kinds of non-essential amino acids, and it may not have few kinds of non-essential amino acids. Based on the requirement of the cell, here these amino acids will be produced by this reaction transamination. So here this involves both catabolism and anabolism of amino acids. That means in the biosynthesis of amino acids, or by the breakdown of protein into smaller amino acids. In both the reactions, this transamination reaction is commonly seen. And here transamination diverts the excess amino acids towards energy generation. So whatever the excess amino acids are present, these will be forwarded for energy generation. So excess amino acids will be utilized for the energy generation. So amino acids, they undergo transamination to finally concentrate nitrogen in glutamate. So here nitrogen can be transferred to glutamate. Here glutamate is the only amino acid that undergoes oxidative deamination to a sufficient extent to liberate free NH3 for urea synthesis. So here only the amino acid glutamate undergo production of NH3, that is urea synthesis, and for this process it undergoes oxidative deamination reaction, and all the amino acids except lysine, threonine, proline and hydroxyproline participate in transamination. So here lysine, threonine, proline and hydroxyproline doesn't undergo this transamination reactions, and transamination is not restricted to alpha amino groups only. For instance, omega amino groups of ornithine is also transaminated. Okay, so all kinds of amino groups can be transferred by using this transamination reaction. And here serum transaminases are also important for the diagnostic and prognostic processes or purposes. Okay, so these are not only helpful in the amino acid metabolism, also helpful in the few diagnostic and prognostic purposes. So this is about the transamination. So if you see the reaction over here, you can observe the transfer of NH2 group from amino acid to keto group. Okay. So this is how transamination will be carried. So next reaction, that is deamination. That is deamination. So here the removal of amino group from the amino acids as NH3 is deamination. So here removal of amino group in the form of NH3 is deamination. So deamination results in the liberation of ammonia for urea synthesis, and the carbon skeleton of amino acids is converted into keto acids. Deamination may be either oxidative or non-oxidative. That means by utilizing oxygen or by lack of oxygen. Okay. And the oxidative deamination. First, let's see about this oxidative deamination. So, this oxidative deamination is the liberation of free ammonia from the amino group of amino acid coupled with oxidation. So, if you see conversion of an L amino acid to a alpha keto acid along with the liberation of NH3, during this reaction there will be involvement of oxidation, that is called oxidative deamination. Here the purpose of oxidative deamination is to provide NH3 for urea synthesis and alpha keto acids for the variety of reactions including energy generation. So if you see the reaction here, L amino acid is converted into alpha keto acid along with the NH3, which is essential for the urea synthesis, and the enzyme catalyzing this reaction is L amino acid oxidase. And parallelly oxidation is also taking place. This FMN is converted into FMNH2, which is utilized during the reaction. And next, H2O2 is converted into half O2. Okay, one water molecule will be released, and oxidation is carried by catalase enzyme. Now let's see non-oxidative deamination. So some of the amino acid can be deaminated to liberate NH3 without undergoing oxidation. So without undergoing oxidation only NH3 molecule will be liberated. So here example is conversion of the amino acids like serine, threonine, homoserine to their respective alpha keto acids by the enzyme dehydradase along with the removal of NH3 molecule. So here amino acid dehydrases are the enzymes which convert serine, threonine and homoserine into their respective alpha keto acids, and the removal of NH3 is seen. And also here amino acid disulfurhydrases will convert the sulfur amino acids, namely cysteine and homocysteine, and they undergo deamination coupled with desulfurhydration to give keto acids. So here this is called as amino acid desulfurhydrases. Amino acids. So these are the sulfur containing amino acids, cysteine and homocysteine. They undergo deamination coupled with desulfurhydration reaction. Okay, cysteine is converted into pyruvate by desulfurhydrases enzymes, during which NH3 plus H2S will be liberated. And also deamination of histidine is also an important reaction in the metabolism. This histidine is converted into urocanate, okay, by the enzyme histidase for the removal of NH3 molecule. Okay, this is also a non-oxidative deamination process. So So here deamination can be done in a oxidate by along with oxidation, and it can also be done without oxidation. And when deamination is carried without oxidation, it can also be carried with desulfahydration, or sometimes these can be simply deaminated to other compounds, like histidine can be converted into uroconate by the enzyme histidase. So these are the important reactions that are seen in the amino acid metabolism. In the next class we can see about the urea cycle and individual amino acid metabolic reactions. Okay, so please write the notes. If you have any doubts, please contact me. Thank you, students.